Okay, welcome back. Solo roll Mangging. Shadowdark. So last time we saw our entire party of intrepid, ambitious adventurers, newly fledged, getting slaughtered by some ghouls in a cave. And I was ready to just make 4 new characters and move on with our lives and, start again, blah, blah, blah. But thinking about it more and more and looking over a lot of varying comments and thoughts about surprise and ambushes and things like that. I don't think Shadowdark's rules are entirely up to snuff for what I am looking for. So, by and large, I think if you have a normal encounter, a fixed encounter as it were, say that, you're in a dungeon, and whether it's a dungeon of your own making or it's a monster lair or it's a module you're running, there's a lot of fixed encounters. If we go off of this one, like the tomb rats that are inside the crypt. That's a fixed encounter. I don't think you're going to in like an OSR game, BXD&D, things like that. I could be wrong. I mean, I really could be wrong here, but I don't think that system of surprise, like a 1 or 2 on a D6, is really intended for fixed encounters, or is much more easily hand-waved for fixed encounters. As an example, like when we did when we were trying out Axe and I was running that mock battle, and we had some goblins or something that were in the room, or kobolds, I think, and we kicked the door in, and then I had them roll for surprise, and they rolled like a 1 or a 2, so they were all surprised, right? It could be that you are supposed to roll a d6 for that case, because they were not expecting the counter, so you roll a d6, blah, 1 or 2. But I think in that case, or a similar case where the players are like if a player sneaks up within like the 20 feet of a guy and he's just like, jerking off or, whatever. He's not paying attention. The player successfully sneaks up and then they say, okay, I'm going to shoot him with my crossbow. In that case, you wouldn't first say, okay, well, hold on, we have to roll to see if he's surprised, because otherwise you don't get a free round. And then, oh, he's not surprised by you, so roll initiative. Oh, you lost initiative, so he actually notices you now, and he's going to charge towards you. Like, that, you wouldn't do that. No one's going to do that. That would be insane. You would leave that group immediately, right? You would just say, okay, roll your crossbow, And I mean, say it's not a thief. I mean, say it's a wizard or a priest or something that happens to stealth up to a guy. So there's no backstab or anything like that. It's just shooting your crossbow. You would say, just roll the crossbow. I mean, there wouldn't be a surprise check or anything like that. But then after you hit the guy, say he's still alive, you wouldn't then roll the surprise. I mean, I think he is surprised, but you're not going to give the player a chance for the guy to lose another round. Because that's what surprise is. I mean, the surprisees get a whole free round then. You wouldn't really give that to the cleric. You would just, if he's still alive, you would just roll initiative at that point, right? So you have bypassed the entire surprise mechanic because it wasn't necessary. It wasn't needed. And this is... Yeah, I mean, as someone that has performed many surprise attacks and ambushes as a player throughout the years, because it's very advantageous to do so, that's typically how my DM ran it, and how I tend to run it, is that the surprise round is like the free attack that you're doing, the initial volley of arrows or spells or something like that. I mean, that is the surprise round. You earned it. You basically have surprised them. There is no like 1 in 2 out of D6 chance or whatever. You earned it, and we bypass that, okay? And then if you fuck up on your stealth roll, or they notice the ambush or something like that, then you typically also don't do the surprise roll. You have fumbled it of your own accord, and so we bypass the surprise roll as well, and we just go to initiative. You know, we skip it no matter what happens. So I think then the surprise rule is mostly, much like the reaction roll, for random encounters. Encounters that are not expected on the player's part. And that's the same thing with the reaction roll. I mean, the reaction roll can be used for like a fixed encounter, but usually the situation for a fixed encounter is much clearer, and the DM has a much better idea of what they want to do with that fixed encounter. Their attitude is already kind of set in place. The reason you do a reaction roll for random encounters is because it's random, and that the reaction roll is unnecessary. I mean, you're not forced as a DM to ever do a reaction roll for a random encounter, but it just makes it unexpected for you as well, so that it can allow for a lot of spontaneous situations. Whereas fixed encounters are not meant as much to be spontaneous and random. And thus, surprise roll is often going to be called for a random encounter, even if it might not be combat or anything like that. It's sort of to determine who notices one or the other, if there's going to be ambiguity. And depending on the nature of the random encounter, it might not always be a surprise thing. But when you're wandering and you have two groups wandering and they bump into each other, the surprise roll can help adjudicate which side notices the other first. You know, we sort of could have done that when I encountered that patrol of frogmen, but I decided to skip over that and just say the players noticed him. That is, you know, within the DM's purview. But I could have just had both sides roll surprise, and if one of side rolled 1 or a 2 and the other didn't, then, you know, the other side would notice them before the other, and it's just randomly decided. So, going back to our ghoul encounter then. That was a random encounter, which is going to more encourage the surprise roll than a fixed encounter. And it was a random encounter in which enemies were planning to ambush players. And if you were going to have a fixed encounter, say you were going to have the players walking along the road, classic scenario, and goblins are hiding out behind the rocks, ready to ambush them and shoot them with their bows. You could adjudicate that all by rolls, which is how like modern D&D does it, but in the OSR vein, you want to more provide little hints or clues, or maybe in a more sandbox style, you know, something like indicate to the players beforehand that, oh, you know, this is kind of goblin territory or something like that. They're known to do ambushes, and so the players are going to be much more alert for ambushes. And so in that case, maybe you would give them the surprise roll to try and avoid it, or maybe just let them be smarter about it. Rather than just do the guaranteed, like players sometimes get of just, oh, they pop out and they shoot you with arrows, you know, and you know, it's a free round of attacks from them. They won the surprise. If the players are really dumb and stupid and oblivious, sure, that might be the case. But usually the general gist of the OSR is to warn them, or provide some subtle hints or something like that maybe something's up. And it's tricky because you don't really want to spell it out completely for them, like, oh, it's quiet here, really quiet, and it's like, oh shit, we're about to get ambushed. I mean, you could do that if you really wanted to, because then that at least gives them a moment to maybe think of something before an arrow is going to start. A volley of arrows are going to start coming down. It's not the end of the world, and I am always of the opinion when I play any sort of fantasy D20 game that the player characters are a little special. They are not just average peasants. I know that's not really in the vein of OSR, where basically, like, with a funnel and everything, any random peasant can just become an adventurer. But there is something special always about player characters, you know? That's just how I feel. You know, there's just some ineffable quality of being, like, a protagonist. And that doesn't mean they're, like, superheroes, necessarily. It doesn't mean they have plot armor, necessarily, or anything like that. But they're just a little special. They have that little spark that makes them worthy of being a protagonist compared to just the average nameless nobody peasant. Or the average nameless town guard, or something. You know, it's what separates an average hobbit from Peregrine Took. You know, he's it's hard to explain. I mean, yeah, plot armor is kind of a part of it, I suppose, but anyways. So I think, yeah, I mean, in that case, if you did say, like, oh, you something feels off, and that might something feels like you feel like something's bad is about to happen, or, you know, something like that. I mean, that's a little on the nose, of course, but you could say that. And then say, what do you do? And that at least gives an essence of player agency compared to what I did here of just like, well, fuck it. I mean, you guys get surprised, you get ambushed, they get a free round. Oh, they won initiative as well, so they're just slaughtering your whole team and you're dead. So I think I handled this very poorly, no matter how you want to look at it. So I would either go one of two routes. I would say, give them a surprise roll because it's a random encounter. And so we're only surprised technically on a 1 or a 2. And then, you know, ghouls like lash out from the darkness. But, you know, we're not surprised, so we just roll initiative. And they might still go first, but that's okay. You know, that's livable. Or more livable. Or you roll that random encounter. And again, I said before when I was doing Barrow Maze and stuff that even though you roll the random encounter and the underclock goes to negative or something, that doesn't mean you necessarily have to trigger it immediately. So I could have waited a moment and then maybe keyed them off or some other way, or literally just say, you know, you have a bad feeling. Like it's kind of like again, Lord of the Rings, when he knocks the armor down the well or whatever in Moria, and they just hear it kind of reverberating or something, and it's just kind of this like, oh shit kind of moment, you know, just like I plummeted down, I landed on the ground, and the shake kind of reverberated through the cave around us, and we just like have a really bad feeling, and then it doesn't seem like anything's about to happen, but we have just a bad feeling. What do you do? And then the ghouls ambush. I don't know. I think one of those two options is better than whatever I did. And maybe it's... I don't know. The Shadowdark rules, as always, are really slim. So I either want to go more in the traditional BX D&D, old school D&D route, or slightly more modern in the vein of what I think Shadowdark would kind of want. You'd think. I'm not sure. I tend to be casual. So I'd probably say give them a hint that something feels bad. Something feels like it's, you know, the darkness is growing a little thicker or something. You know, like you have a bad feeling about the situation. What do you do? Kind of thing. And maybe they would, like, I don't know. Maybe they would just ignore it. They would just not think of much of what I said. Depends how often I use that trick, I suppose. Otherwise, if you want to just leave it to chance, then do the D6. In my case, if I was going to give myself like one action after Malcor fell, I don't know. I don't know what I would really do. I'd maybe activate demonic possession or something, but that wouldn't make much of a difference if we get ambushed. Yeah, I don't really have many talents or abilities or anything like that. The only thing I can do is activate Divine Armament to give Godfrey, like, a badass melee weapon. But he tends to want finesse weapons, so it'd have to be like a scimitar. But a scimitar, that would be +3 and then 1d6 +1 damage. I mean, it's not bad, but it wouldn't really make much of a difference. We don't have that many tools available to us. But now, if I did that and I said, okay, you have a bad feeling about this, blah, 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 and I give them like a chance to do something, would I then I couldn't still then spring it on them as surprise. I couldn't give the ghouls a free round because we're not surprised. We have a bad feeling about this. To be honest, though, I don't think that's the end of the world either. I think surprise rounds against players are really vicious. And maybe it's fair, maybe it's realistic, I suppose. I mean, it definitely is. But there's a reason that OSE and, you know, stuff like that gives you a pretty good chance to not be surprised. Because it is kind of unfair and bullshit. So, I don't know. Like if let's just say I roll a d6 to avoid surprise. I roll a 2. So I'm surprised anyways, and we do the exact same thing as it was, and we die. So there's really no avoiding this. If I'm going to leave it to chance, that's really just one extra layer of chance that you could still fail and get slaughtered. And we revert back to what I said before. Like, it felt like I really didn't have any way out. You know, I really didn't have any option there. A series of bad roll after bad roll and lucky roll on their part and everything, and just on, and that leads to a TPK. Usually the great savior of the TPK is that you can run, but that's not always the case. I mean, it is very possible, I think, in any of these kind of D&D games, unless it's super casual, it's very possible for you to just die, really. I mean, imagine playing a game like this and just think that imagine if every roll you made for your characters were ones. Every single roll you ever made was a 1. And imagine every single roll the DM ever made was a 20. The game would be practically impossible, right? And that's just kind of the reality of it. Sometimes shit gets unlucky. And usually you can just run away. But in our case, specifically in this dungeon, that wasn't really an option. Because we got ambushed and paralyzed by ghouls, who are notoriously pretty dangerous at low level because of that paralyzation. And Shadowdark doesn't really fudge it too much. I mean, it shortens the duration, I think, drastically. Because I think an OSE ghoul is like... It's like 10 minutes or something like that. Like, it's kind of insane. No, it's 2d4 turns. Yeah, it's a very long time. So they're far more dangerous in BXD&D compared to Shadowdark, but still pretty dangerous in Shadowdark. So really, it's like I'd have to bend into really modern casual shit if I wanted to save this party. Or yeah, I mean, just really, it's like you want to give players a chance to save themselves, but in this case, I don't really know. It just seems rough. It's a rough random encounter, but those exist. It was a rough random encounter at exactly like the worst moment when I couldn't reasonably escape, because, you know, if it happened like in this opening room, it's like, okay, we run back outside in terror and blah, 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 and maybe they get one of us or two of us or something like that. But here is just like, oh God, where are we gonna go? And eventually I tried to run. I could have probably ran sooner. I guess that's the thing. I should have ran as soon as like the first round, basically. As soon as Malcor and Junor went down. As soon as I had a turn, just, okay, let's run. I guess. So, I went into this thinking like, okay, well, maybe we can rework this. Maybe we can wind back time and I'll give myself better odds. But honestly, even if I give the surprise roll, there you go. I mean, we still failed. We still got surprised. And if I give them a chance to act, I'm basically nullifying the ambush. Sort of. I'm not giving them a surprise round, but I feel like that's the thing. I don't think players should never be able to be surprised. And if I go for that more casual option of like, you have a bad feeling about this, that's basically nullifying player surprise forever. But it's that same thing we had before when we were doing the Weird Wizard generic Hexcrawl of like, how do you handle an assassin that wants to kill players? And I know the modern casual way is to like warn them somehow of the assassin so they can try and prevent it. And that's what we ended up doing. But realistically, I mean, if there was a trained assassin that wanted to sneak into Oscar's room at night and he was not aware of it, chances are he's going to die because the assassin is good at what they do. And Oscar is probably snoozing. And you're not going to just suddenly decide like, oh yeah, you're a really light sleeper. Because, I mean, that's essentially plot armor. So if you want to be realistic, Oscar's probably just fucking dead. But most players are not going to be super happy with that kind of thing. So I don't know. It's a tough thing. I just can't adjudicate this properly. And that's why I think the D6 roll is just the most fair for random encounters. I mean, it's pretty fair. They'd still have to do the fight, even if they won the surprise roll, and it's still very possible we would die if we did the fight normally. But there's, it's an ambush. There's a slim chance that you're going to get ambushed. Modern games handle this a much better... Well, no, I don't want to say that. But they handle it much differently by just revolving everything to, like, perception checks or something. Or stealth checks. And so... I don't know. I mean, maybe the I don't think so, but maybe the 1 and 2 and 6 is meant to be per character, but I don't think so. Yeah, OSC seems pretty clear. Yeah, 1 player rolls for the adventuring party as a whole. So it's quite clear. This is not individual surprise or anything like that. It's the whole party being surprised. And I'm wasting a lot of time talking about this, but I feel like it's kind of important. This is going to come up at some point when DMing. Yeah, so I think modern tactical, D&D 5th edition, Pathfinder, stuff like that, pretty sure it does it by character. So each character rolling perception or something like that against the enemy's stealth or whatever. And if you succeed, then you're not surprised. You get to go on the first turn. And if you fail, then you're surprised and you miss your first turn, blah, blah, blah. Or it's against like your passive perception. So you don't even have to roll, but you've built your character so they have high passive perception. They're very adept at noticing things quickly. And so it's relatively uncommon for the whole party to just be ambushed and the whole first round. But in that game, even if you have a full first round where you're not doing anything, you're probably still going to survive because it's D&D 5th edition. So now I think that's just the way it is. It was a random encounter. We had a D6 roll. We failed. We still died. Problem solved. So I was ready to keep going with these because I was going to, change my mind on it. But ultimately, no. They are dead. So we're gonna have to make 4 new characters. Great. Fuck it. Let's just do 3d6 down the line. Let's just make a character normally. There you go. There's our character. 15 con, 13 wisdom, 7 strength, 6 dex, 9 in 10 charisma. Really quite shitty at practically everything. But the wisdom is there. Con is there. If we can get some strength bonuses, a priest might go the distance. Start with 40 gold. Yeah, we'll go with Ged. That's fine. Human. Clara. Perfect. Reroll HP. Perfect. We get to pick the talent. So, I think we probably need strength. I think we need a lot of strength to be relatively viable. I'm gonna roll this until I get strength because I can't just copy paste. Yes, thank you. There you go. +2 strength. For spells, for Ged, we have to implement Thunderclap, so I guess we'll make that real quick. Thunderclap. Duration instant. Range is going to be technically close. Priest. I will just copy paste. Okay, done. Thunderclap. For our other one, we can pick Turn Undead, actually, as one of our 2 spells, but fuck it, I'm going Cure Wounds. I'm not fucking around anymore. Okay, and then we also get his other talent, which is Feast of Renewal. Technically a patron boon, but just put it as part of class. And after finishing a meal with companions, you and up to 8 allies regain 1d6 health each. I think we want to put the once per day. Good. Alright. Done and done and done and done. Pretty simple. Remove Turn Undead, so we don't get that. And we have 40 gold to spend on gear. So, we probably want a pretty traditional loadout here. Classic mace for 5. Shield for 10. Going with axe rules here. Shield is 10. Yes, correct. And then we can wear up to medium armor. And these prices are different, so we could get something heftier. We could go chainmail for 4 AC, 4 encumbrance. But yeah. That really leaves not much room to wiggle. So maybe we step it down slightly and go to... I like that ring and scale are identical. So no difference whatsoever. Just entirely the aesthetics you prefer. So really you have like 2 kinds of medium armor. Alright, then we'll go with we'll just go with chain. I have to edit this because the AC is going to be... No, not chain. I got to rename this. No, we just really need... Just delete this. We need scale. Yes, because that's going to be 13 AC and 3 slots for 30 gold. Yes, that is all correct. 30 gold. Well, wait a minute. 30 gold. I can't afford 30 gold. Out of your mind, I only have 40, and the shield costs 10. No, I can't afford this. Never mind. I guess we're just going to go with leather. That's 10, 20, 25 we're at. And then we'll buy the crawler's kit. So backpack. Flint and steel. Grappling hook. Torches. Rations. There's probably something else. 2 torches. Iron spikes. And the rope. Second torch. Well, we're loaded up. Can't take any more than that. That is it for Clara, I believe. And this should actually only be 1 AC. So we have an AC of 10 because of our -2 dex. Yikes, and -1 on our mace to do a 1d. This is just a shitty-ass character. Now, I should be happy with that, according to fans of 3d6 down the line. I should be overjoyed that I have such a unique and flawed character. And, yeah, I mean, she does have 7 health, I suppose, but, you know, I mean, the saving grace, I suppose, is that it's a d20 roll. So a lot of these -1, +1, it's pretty minor. The difference between a +1 and a stat and a -1 is going to be a 10% swing on a d20. So it is not ideal, but it's not like drastically worse. The thing is, if we were going by OSR stat, like BX stats and stuff, 9 through 12 would all be 0. So this would be 0, 0. This would be at -1 or 2. I'm not quite sure. This would be +1. This might still be +1. I'm not sure. And this would be 0. So most of these negatives here would be 0. But it is what it is. Okay, then, another character, yes. Moving on. Should we just continue the process here? 3d6. There you go. 15 charisma, 12 strength, 9 dex, 9 con, 8 wisdom. I think you're pretty much looking at a fighter here, and not a particularly amazing one, but a fighter nonetheless. Unless we want to be something a little weird. But honestly, I think we still haven't fully explored. 25 gold. Awesome. That's really quite excellent. And we've got a dwarf. Named Grim. I suppose that's cool. For weapon mastery, he's gonna go with no, spear's pretty good. I like the spear option. But maybe a hammer is better. Nah, I'm gonna go spear. I'm gonna go spear dwarf. Reroll that. Reroll that. That is technically legit, so we will go with that. And he got +1 to melee and ranged attacks. Done. He only has 25 gold, so he's definitely getting leather armor. Leather armor. Shield, that's 20 already. And then the spear should be cheap. 5 silver. So he has technically, what did I spend here? 27 plus 5 silver. I had money left over there. Well, wait a minute. Yeah. Well, no. I mean, if we're going with leather armor is actually better now. But it costs 20 gold instead of 10. So this is actually going to be 12 AC. But another 10 gold. Which means I can't actually afford leather armor. I can only afford, like, padded armor or hide armor. So we have to make... I can just edit this. I can just call this hide armor. Done. So that's 10, 20, and so I have 4 gold, 5 silver left over. Well, we don't have to buy the crawling kit. We just mainly want the backpack, because that's essential. So that's another 2 gold. And then beyond that, I don't know, man. Rations, I guess. That's another 5 silver. 2 gold left. And that's probably it, really. I think it's fine. So he's got +3 on his spear attack, 1d6 +1 damage, 12 AC, 6 HP. He's not. This isn't the end of the world. I mean, it's not great, but it's not the end of the world. Okay, next character. Well, no, not actually next character, because we have to do... We don't have Hauler. And we don't have Grit. We have to put in Deadly Strikes. Which, item, Deadly Strikes. Yep, that was the one. And then his fighting style. He's not going to do two-handed. He's going to go for the sword and board. So that's going to be fighting style. It's probably a better... Just call it protection or something like that. It's probably a better title. AC bonus. Technically, it is an AC bonus. It's not quite accurate because it only comes from shields, but I don't think I can replicate that specifically. So we'll just give it an AC bonus. 13 AC. Alright. Yeah, I mean, technically, if he loses a shield or unequips it or something, he loses that. We'll try to remember that if that ever comes up. But that is Grim done and finished. Next. Roll it. 13 strength, 15 int, 6 dex, 8 con, 8 whiz, 9 charisma. Well, that high int is really only pointing to one thing. The strength is maybe something. I mean, you could be like a warlock. But I don't know. The odds of actually getting spell. Although if we pick a human, I don't know if we can pick a talent. If we allow picking a patron boon for a warlock instead of picking a talent. But I'm pretty sure you get a talent roll at level 1. Yeah, I'm gonna have to bring up that file again because I don't have it. So hold on. Shadowdark, first scroll 1. Okay. Warlock. first level, you gain a random patron boon talent based on your chosen patron. So I'm pretty sure you get both. So the spell casting would be this. Shun the Vial, 3 to 7. Learn a wizard spell. Tier equals half your level. Cast it within. That would be if we want to do any sort of spell casting warlock. We then could do some melee stuff. Because we could get +1 to melee or range attacks. Or we could roll 2 patron boons and choose 1 to keep. Alright, let's do this. But let's, I'm not going to allow to pick a patron boon, but you can pick a talent. So we're going to go Shun the Vial. Yeah, we'll be a human. Let's get, like, more of a... Oh, we had an Ron. Denton, there we go. 35 gold. He's going to worship Shun the Vial, of course. Means he'll be chaotic. Witchborn. This all makes a lot of sense. HP. Yes, he can get at least 4. There you go. Yeah. And we're going to... I'm going to pick my talent, and we want to get the roll 2 patron boons. Which again, like, I could open up the menu and find it. Because I can't. Yeah, we have to specifically get this one number. Okay, this is going to take forever. Well, I mean, really... Yeah, whatever. Okay, so we got +2 dex +2 to an int. For Shun. Yes, okay. So +2 dex +2 int. Dex is... Dex. We really want to shore up our bad dex, because our strength is already alright. We're really just suffering for AC and stuff. So, honestly, yeah, I'm going to take the +2 dex. And then we're rolling 2 more of these. Learn a wizard spell, or another +2 to dex, but we want to get a wizard spell. And I can pick any one. Magic Missile is pretty good, but if we're going to be melee, then it's not really necessary, because we will have... We don't really need the easy damage. So we want more something with utility to us. Mage Armor could be pretty good. 10 rounds. And your armor class becomes 14. Honestly, yeah, with his shitty dex. Which makes me now regret picking dex. I didn't think about mage armor. Yeah, what is his dex gonna be? He can't... Wait, I think he can equip shields. Yeah, he can equip up to chainmail. So you can do light and medium armor and shields. So his AC could easily be 15 minus 1, so 14. So basically we could get to 14 without mage armor perpetually. So I guess I would probably lean away from mage armor then. And we probably just want to go with sleep. Alright, we'll just go with sleep. Done. Then our shit, we have 35 gold. So if we want to get leather armor, that's 20. Again, I know that I'm trying to go and loot my old bodies and get all that loot, but I can't make characters with that assumption. So we have to make characters as if we were making characters normally, which we are. So 20 gold for the leather armor, 30 for the shield, and then he could grab, I think, most melee weapons. Oh no, not really. Club, dagger, mace, longsword, crossbow. So probably just go for a mace. We wouldn't be able to get the crawling kit, but that's not really a big deal. So we go leather armor, shield. We have a lot of very similar characters here. Mace, so that's 20. And this gets bumped up to 12. This gets bumped down to 1. So it kind of evens out and we just have to spend more money. Nerf, nerf, nerf. 20, 30, and 5 silver. And then we gotta buy a backpack. And rations. Those two. So that's another 2 gold and 5 silver. So we'll leave it at that. And I think that's pretty much it. 3 fucking HP. Because of his -1 con. And only 12 AC. And this is a character I'm expecting to roll into melee. Alright, one more. Last one. Create. Let's see what we get. 15 strength, 9 dex, 10 con, 12 whiz, 11 charisma. Well, it's decent enough for a fighter. We didn't get any person with high dex. Look at that. 9, 8, 9, 6. And this character is valid because he's got a 15 strength. So, yeah, that's what happens. You could be a thief. Nothing's stopping you from being a thief because you still have advantage and it's just a -1. You know what? Fuck it. I'm making this guy a thief. This is the whole point of the 3d6 down the line is you got to just embrace it. Yeah, you could be a goblin. They can't be surprised ever. If we were worried about surprise. Fat lot of good he would have done. Yeah, I'll be a halfling. See, with that nerf to humans, you don't feel as bad picking something else. And we're gonna be a thief. Demon-born. Worshipping Saint Taragnus. Or a lawful thief. Named, a lot of female names. Norbert. Perfect. Perfect stuff. So he has to get at least a 3 on this roll. Alright, there it is. Roll talent. +2 to dex it is. See, it evens out. He's not very good as a thief. He's not amazing. He's not an 18 dex or anything. And I mean, a +4 to like a +0 is certainly significant. But livable. He's got 35 gold as well. So we're going to go with leather armor for 20. And probably... He's got a good strength, actually. So he doesn't want a finesse weapon. He actually wants to hit with a normal melee. But he doesn't have many options. So I think we're looking technically at the short sword, to be honest. That is his only D6 melee option. I mean, even if we make the short sword a finesse weapon, usually that just means you have the option of using dex. So it's fine as is. And this is 7 gold. So that's 27 already. We could give him a short bow or something. But maybe I'd just prefer some daggers. How much is a dagger? That's gotta be 1 gold. Alright, I'm just gonna give him 2 daggers. Down to 6. We'll give him the backpack for 2, some rations, thieves' tools. We already have those. Thieves always have those on them. And we'll give him rope and a grappling hook. So that's 1, 2, 2.5, 4.5. Okay, that's it. All right, and that is Norbert the Thief. Pretty simple. Now remember, we are altering backstab a little bit, so he gets advantage on attack rolls against an unaware target, and we're playtesting that he can gain his bonus damage against an injured target in combat. Yeah, so an extra weapon die. So if he hits something with a short sword in combat that's already injured, it has to already be injured, he can do 2d6 instead of 1, which is most likely going to finish the target, but that's kind of the point. Norbert wants to butcher. All right, there's our 4. Clara, the priest, Grim, the fighter, Denton, the warlock, Norbert, the thief. And they are coming out of fucking Baileythorpe, born and raised, and they're upset about the dwindling situation. They're ready to make their own fortunes and maybe help solve the issues here. But they recently heard about a pack of bright-eyed people from Valbrook that came into town and were apparently heading to some tomb to the south in the marsh. So we are going to... We haven't heard from them at all. Maybe they didn't make it, but we'll make it because we're better. So we're going to go south to the tomb if we can find it. So bright, fresh, and early, we head out there. We're gonna roll a random encounter check just on the way in there. Okay, we're fine. And then we now have to search, just like the other group did, to try and find it. And this has been like a week later or something like that, so we're not gonna find footprints really. Anything helping us. So it's basically the same odds as we go. We found it immediately. Maybe we did find footprints. Maybe I lied to you just now. Okay, well, that's pretty clear then. And we're going to have Clara light her torch. So she'll put away her shield for the moment. 10 fucking AC. And we head in. And basically, you know, the same situation as it was. I don't have to re-describe this. There's still plenty of bat shit and stuff. Maybe we can see some footprints in the bat shit here. It does look like someone walked in. And it does not look like anyone walked out. So that's a little ominous. We get a little like, oh boy. And we follow the footsteps to the east. So I'm going to tick that down by 1 as we walk through the first room or so. I'm going to roll under clock because clock is ticking. 6, 6, 6. What? Holy shit! Unbelievable! If that had been a 3, we would have triggered a random encounter immediately. Which, yes, is very much possible using normal rules of just a 1 on a 1d6. But with the underclock, absurdly unlikely. Hold on. What were the odds? He said the odds of what it would take to trigger an encounter on the first roll. 0.3% chance. And we were 1 number off from that. So, yeah, it goes to 0, which means it then pops back up to 3, and we get a warning of the imminent encounter. We get a little omen. So we're going to roll d6. It's a 1. So it's kobolds searching for their missing friend in Area 2. Okay, so the way the map is set up, we kind of need to... Okay, so if we map out kind of the kobolds' journey looking for their missing friend who died there a long time ago. Maybe they went down this way, and then they went up this way, and then they went up this way, and they've been pretty quiet. And so we hear them kind of... I'm only detailing because I know that I'm going east. So it's like we kind of see them coming up this way. Now, the players at this point could say, okay, we leave. We leave the dungeon. Like, they hear footsteps, or like little tiny footsteps ahead of them, sort of echoing a little bit off the cavern walls down this corridor. And they could just be like, okay, we leave. But it's not really realistic. It's like, yeah, I mean, you could. Nothing's stopping you. But, I mean, did you really go in here expecting there to be nothing? The place would just be completely empty? I mean, what do you think leaving is going to do? I mean, how would I handle it, I guess, if how I would handle it is that the kobolds are going to leave eventually. Right? So, eventually, soon, they're going to find their dead buddy. And they're going to find all this fucking treasure on the ground there, like loads of coins. So they're going to grab all that and then decide to leave. So depending on what the players do after that point kind of dictates. But by leaving, they potentially are allowing kobolds to walk away with hundreds of gold coins. Because it's like... All right, I mean, let's say the players are really trying to game the underclock system, which is ridiculous, and I would punish heavily. I mean, it's kind of meant to be gamed, but it's still somewhat realistic. So, like, say they just like, okay, we go outside and we just camp here for, like, 10 minutes. It's like, okay, I mean... You know, reality does not stop, and reality does not, like, reset or anything during that 10 minutes. So, pretty much that random encounter would just be primed and waiting for whenever they want to come back in. Or if it was something that I could set up that would actually leave the dungeon, like these kobolds, then I could put that into motion instead. And maybe the kobolds, you know, the kobolds are being very stealthy. Or as stealthy as they can. So they probably would get a bead on the adventurers outside the cave before they saw the kobold. So we could do another sort of ambush thing there. But in our case, we're not going to leave. We're determined here. So I think we're just going to kind of stride ahead. We're going to stride down here. And the thing is, if you're carrying a torch or you have a light on, you cannot really surprise anybody. You just cannot. You can be surprised pretty damn easily, but you can't surprise anyone. So if they did that and they walked over there, I mean, I'd roll the underclock again. It would only be 1. So technically, the encounter does not happen just yet. It's not guaranteed to be the next thing that happens if they go into another room or something. So you could roll a 1, as I did. So it's not quite there yet, but it's close. But now they look out. We'll take this down again. They look out, and they see this room, the stone spike. They don't see the opal on top. They see the kobold corpse in the wall. And then they look down here and they see the bodies of 4 individuals. I think 3 humans and a dwarf that have been like thoroughly devoured, really. Like, it is a messy scene, and the smell is pretty awful because it's rotting now, and you know, maggots writhing amongst the flesh down there, and so like it's really pretty grisly and awful. And it's pretty safe to say that we found those 4 brave individuals that trekked in here. So we look down there, and we, you know, like, okay, we don't really see an easy way down, but we'll just attach the grappling hook to like the edge of this ledge, which is what I should have done last time. So we can all descend down with the rope. And obviously nothing really happens yet. Nothing happens yet. And we begin looting their bodies. So now I can actually go back and grab what loot we had. So they had helmets. That was one. That was one thing. So I guess, yeah, Grim is definitely going to take a helmet. They got like this bejeweled scale armor that looks pretty incredible, so we're going to take that. They do have a longbow, so I guess technically Grim would want to take that as well. And the arrows. Getting pretty hefty. The rations are rotted, so that's useless. And then 189 gold pieces. Grim will take all of that off of Junor. He's loaded for war now. Okay. Next we have Malcor. Also a helmet, so Denton will take that. Also the nice scale armor, which Denton can wear. There's a hand axe, and there's not much reason not to take it, right? Unless I can't use hand axes. Well, hand axe is not in the... Is it in the original book? It is not. So where do we want to rule on hand axes? Is it... If you can use a dagger, you can use a hand axe? Is that where we're at? Doesn't really seem correct, but I don't know. That's why you have a tricky thing where you're outlining very specific weapons that classes can use. It makes it really annoying to add new weapons. Yeah, I'm not sure, actually. What is... Hold on, what is Shadow the Weird Wizard? I don't think Shadow the Weird Wizard cares about any of that shit. No. I mean, anybody can use anything, except I believe there are some stat requirements. So, yeah, certain weapons, especially the higher end ones or heavier ones, have strength requirements, or some have agility requirements. But yeah, I mean, if you're a wizard or you're a mage that has 12 strength, I mean, you can use axes, you could use long swords, you can use warhammers. The game's not really that picky about, you know, specific things, which is a more old school thought, where really only fighters can actually use like magic longswords, for example. Am I ready, though, to completely revamp? Well, I did say that I was probably going to use the Weird Wizard weapon list to kind of replace it, so I guess maybe I would do it, but that is a drastic change to class design. And the thing is, like, as a wizard, or as a mage in Weird Wizard, you're not likely to pick up an axe and use it, because you have a lot of spells that do really good, and you don't have any other combat perks that add like boons to attack rolls or stuff. Unless you build your mage specifically for combat, which is an option, a pretty good one. But then you're giving up other spells that you could be taking instead, blah, blah, blah. Whereas for this game, if we suddenly made it so that our thief, for example, could use a longsword, he's really just practically as good as a fighter, you know. Not quite as good, because the fighter does get weapon mastery and deadly strikes, for in our case, and a fighting style. So the fighter is still technically always going to be better at fighting, but the thief is much closer than he is now, where he's forced to use a D6 weapon. I don't know, it's like not that big of a deal, to be honest. Not that big of a deal, but I understand the purpose of delineating. But I guess the easier way to do it would be to just categorize weapons. Like we're categorizing armor. So you have like light melee, medium melee, heavy melee. And only fighters can use heavy melee. Clerics could use, you know, medium melee, but nothing with a edge, basically. And then thieves could use light melee. And then warlocks, if we wanted to really pick, you know, they can use up to long swords, which is pretty hefty. So I mean, that's basically a fighter, but not quite. They can't use great axes or great swords, so I'd probably just put them up to medium and say call it a day. And I would say heavy weapons in Shadowdark are going to be the two-handed melee weapons and like the 2-slot melee weapons. So Bastard Sword, Great Axe, Great Sword, Warhammer. I think those 4 are your heavy weapons by default. The medium weapons would be sort of the traditional stuff like longsword, mace, spear. That's kind of about it. Maybe javelin as well. And then light would be club, dagger, staff. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Oh, a short sword is in there as light as well. Yeah, so then I think we'd categorize hand axe probably as a light weapon, but maybe as a melee. Or a medium. It's a D6 finesse. Honestly, whatever the source of this is probably tells us. It's Curse Scroll 3. Let me just look real quick. Yes, open up many more PDFs. We love this. So a hand axe, it doesn't really say. I mean, by the rules, if your class doesn't say that you can use a hand axe, you can't use a fucking hand axe. So probably only like the Sea Wolf can use the hand axe. Yeah, I mean, by default, there's only one class in the game. Well, no, any class that says all melee can use it. So a fighter can also use hand axes, but it seems weird. I'd rather categorize my shit and make it a little bit more flexible. But the hand axe is a D6 finesse thrown weapon, which technically makes it just like the best of that sort of light tier weapon. It's definitely the highest damage thrown weapon, but are we really going to nerf thrown weapons that much? I mean, is that like broken? So Yeah, I mean, honestly, probably I would let the Warlock use the hand axe. Yeah. I mean, at my table, that's pretty much how I'd run it. So we're giving him the hand axe. He could also swap his mace off for the longsword, and he may as well. So I'm just going to leave the mace behind, and we'll take the longsword. And we'll take his crowbar. And we'll take this cracked opal. As well as 25 gold. Alright. That's that. And then we have Godfrey. Has a crossbow. The helmets. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I mean, Clara probably wants this scale armor and helmets, so we're going to have to really shuffle things around here. We're already out of space. Except for Norbert. So, Norbert, you're getting some shit. You're getting iron spikes. And we use that grappling hook, so we're just leaving that behind. Yeah, that's fine. And scale armor. We'll leave behind the leather armor. So now we're maxed out. And we can't put on the fucking helmet unless I want to be encumbered. Or I have to move this rope. Fine, Norbert, you get 120 feet of rope on you. So I want my helmet. That's it. And then 118 gold, which Clara cannot carry, so Denton will carry. 145. Alright, and last but not least, Oscar. He had the lantern. Ah, the almighty lantern. Pretty valuable. So I guess, Norbert, you're taking a lantern with an oil flask. And caltrops, because those could be useful. And 85 gold. Alright. Excellent. Looted. Now, here's a good question for you. Do we get XP for looting that gold? I don't see why not. I mean, if that was just like some other adventuring party, you'd give XP for that, right? If we just went into a dungeon and the DM's just like, okay, yeah, you find some bodies here, you know, half devoured, and you find like 300 gold on them. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, you found treasure, right? So I don't see why I shouldn't get XP for it. Which is kind of double dipping, but at the same time, I also died. And technically, I didn't get XP for that treasure initially. But, you know, I think it's fair. So how would we convert this over? I think that's probably like a 2 XP kind of fine. It's pretty big. So we're going to throw 2 XP onto everybody. It's a pretty significant fine for this group. Alright. Now we roll on the underclock during all that, because time ticked down while we were looting and putting on new armor and everything. So we rolled a 2, we're back to 0. Okay. Well, we already know what it is. They're just... Really, they're like getting lost or something. Or they're wandering around. We hear the footsteps. They're getting closer now. So now we could maybe decide if we wanted to... I mean, honestly, we could just fucking leave. We got massive amount of treasure there. Which is funny to think that, like, I went into the dungeon with that much treasure before. And now it's enough for me to be like, hey, we could leave. But no, we're not going to leave. We want to clear out the place. This den of evil. Also, I can now delete these other characters. Delete, 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 delete. And we can apply proper images again to the new crew. Fighter. Denton is a warlock, technically. I don't know if we have a good symbol for a warlock. I'll go with this Magus. That's cool. And then Norbert, the thief. The rogue. There you go. I think maybe we'll just stand and fight here. So... I think Clara is going to, like, prop her torch up to sort of illuminate the room, and she's going to put on her shield. And, you know, we will sort of stand together with our weapons ready. Maybe Grim will have his longbow ready instead of his shield and spear. He's got his longbow cocked, cock-locked, ready to rock. Anything that approaches, he's ready to shoot at. Maybe Denton is ready to put it to sleep or something. Like, we're primed, and we're just gonna wait it out. And I'm picturing us specifically standing, like, actually in this corner here, or in this pit here, so we can kind of see the entrances. And incidentally, we're standing, like, right by that dead kobold, who's probably also rotting, but we wanted to have a good view of all the entrances to the room. And we're just waiting for whatever footsteps it is. Alright, so we're going to take the light down again, underclock again. Alright, now we get the encounter. So it goes to -1, back to 20. And we get our group of kobolds. Now, the module says that it's 1d4 kobolds. Which means it could just be one kobold looking for his buddy here. I don't really like the jive of that. We're just going to do 4. Because it feels the most appropriate. So... 4 kobolds searching for their missing friend. Now. Reaction roll. You don't always need to grant the reaction roll, because I think we were pretty clear with our preparations here that we were kind of ready to shoot whatever comes into view, because nothing down here is good. And players could very well, indicate all that to you, that, okay, we're ready, we want to shoot whatever comes into view, whatever it is, we're going to shoot it, we're going to kill it, we're going to blast it, we don't want to give it a chance. And that's perfectly fine, I think. That's perfectly valid and sometimes smart, but that means there's no real reaction roll, because the reaction is on the player's side and it's pretty obvious. There isn't, like, a chance for them to be like, oh, wait, don't shoot. Or, I mean, you could, I suppose. But it seems the players are pretty adamant here. And the players are me. But, yes. There isn't actually an encounter here where you wouldn't want to shoot immediately. Necessarily. I thought there might be a random encounter with this would-be adventurer. Who's kind of, like, hiding out. I'm surprised that's not one of the random encounters to, like, bump into her. I would probably swap, like, this cloud of bats, maybe, for, like, her, maybe her approaching, or her just, like, kind of, wandering in the dark or something blindly. Or, I mean, maybe not blindly, because if she sees their torchlight, maybe she'll, like, poke her head out or something, something like that. But I think that would be kind of an interesting one, because if they just fire immediately upon her, then that's that. But yeah, in this case, we're gonna fire immediately. The thing is, I don't know how you really adjudicate this, because we have a torch lit. So I think they kind of know that we're here. So actually, you probably do want to do a reaction roll to decide how the kobolds feel about the situation, and whether or not they're likely to just charge in, guns blazing, or be like, please don't hurt us, we're here looking for our friend, or something. Because players don't really have the element of surprise here. So yeah, ultimately I think I'm going to go the other way, actually, despite all of the things I just said. It depends on the monster, really, as usual. And it depends on the monster, depends on the situation. But I'm going to give him a reaction roll, so we'll just roll 2d6. We won't have any charisma influence this, because it's really just kind of the kobolds deciding for themselves how to approach the situation. Okay, we rolled an 8, which I feel is, like, neutral. Somewhere in the neutral vein of, I don't know. Of, like, cautious or, suspicious, according to Shadowdark's table. So they're suspicious of this. Which means that they are going to approach with, negative intentions, I suppose. They're looking for their friend. They haven't been able to find him, and now they find a bunch of adventurers that are apparently in here, so maybe they suspect that these are responsible for killing their friend. And if they can, like, poke their heads in and see his dead body behind them, then that especially is going to trigger things. So we need to, I don't think you give us, I think we're just using kobolds out of the book, since this is a Shadowdark adventure. So let's look up kobolds. They just have spears, okay. So we didn't roll that they're going to be hostile immediately, and I think we have to follow that relatively closely. So they're not going to charge in or anything in anger. And we, let me think. They're gonna try to, like, look in, you know? And we decided that they're coming from this area. That was what I initially said. So they're coming from the dark of this tunnel. And I think basically I would just give the players kind of a heads up, really. That pretty much, since the intention is not for the kobolds to ambush them, or, like, charge in or anything. I mean, if the players were distracted or weren't very focused on each of these 3 entrances or something like that, you know, maybe we'd go to a roll of some kind. But I think pretty much the players are attentive. They're looking for danger. The kobolds can't really be super stealthy, you know. There's a limit to their stealth coming up this one corridor, trying to look in and see what's the situation. So I think they kind of see each other at the same time. And so, yeah, basically you'd see these, like, 4 little dog-faced creatures slowly coming out of the darkness down the southern tunnel there. And then I would just say, you know, what do you do? They're carrying spears, they're kind of clutching them, and they definitely see the 4 of you. And depending on what the players do, basically right after they tell me what they do, or we handle that, then the kobolds otherwise are going to notice their buddy behind them, and then they're going to charge. So if the players can somehow end the situation or defuse the situation somehow, or, you know, maybe they try and call out and be like, hey, we're not your enemy. Honestly, I feel like that's unlikely. But maybe it's just my players don't tend to do stuff like that. They tend to think of everything as a nail that needs to be hammered. So, we'll just follow through with bloodshed, because we like that, and that's how I end up dead all the time. But Grim is going to follow through on his word and fire off his longbow as soon as he sees these little dog-faced creatures coming up. So he'll fire. and he rolled a 6. So the arrow just kind of clatters against the ground near the kobolds. And it's not like the group coordinated and he was like, okay, fire on 3, 2, 1, go, you know? So as soon as he fires, that's combat. That's initiative now. The kobolds recognize that these are hostile enemies. They see their buddy behind them dead. Combat is here. So we're going to roll initiative. Again, everyone's dex is garbage, so it'll be Norbert. 15, and the kobolds failed. So the kobolds are like kind of shriek a little bit in fright and anger. And the party's going to capitalize on it. So Grim's going to fire another longbow shot. 14 is going to be a hit. The kobolds have 1 HP each. So, boom, right through the fucking skull. Drop dead. Denton could just throw out sleep. It fills a near-sized cube extending from you. I have definitely seen multiple discussions on the Shadowdark subreddit about this spell specifically and how it's meant to work, because it's just written a little too vague. Okay, but yes, all right. I think I've read this before, so now, so this is it's a 30-foot cube beside the caster. So it's the edge of the 30-foot cube, or one of the edges of the cube, is right next to the caster, and then it extends out 30 feet from there to form a 30-foot cube. And Kelsey, the designer, replied to that saying that this is how it was intended. So Denton, he's not going to affect any of his allies with this. It's going to extend out from him 30 feet out to where the kobolds are. And I'm pretty sure if we don't have distances or anything on here, so no sense of scale whatsoever, but I can't imagine that this is further than 30 feet. So I would allow it. So it's going to affect all the kobolds. And as long as he succeeds, they'll all fall into a deep sleep. Because they are level 0, actually. Oh, actually, they each have the dodge ability once per day to just cause an attack that would hit them to miss. So, really fucking annoying ability. But yeah, that was not a kill from Grim, unfortunately. I don't think sleep is going to work the same way, though. So, we will roll normal, and it's a failure, of course. No luck tokens, so that would have been a pretty easy end to a fight. So that's it. Norbert, I guess, is going to throw a dagger at the same one that just dodged that longbow shot. Miss. Dagger clatters off into the darkness. And Clara has no ranged of any kind. The best she could do is like ready a melee action with her mace. Now the kobolds have one. I imagine they just have one spear. They don't have multiple spears, so they can throw it, but then they won't have spears. So I think instead they're gonna mount sort of a charge and try and gore all of us. So Clara did ready her mace action, so she'll roll that. She rolled an 18, but that one's going to dodge it. So 2 of them have used their dodge. And now we're going to roll attacks against all 4 of our characters, one by one. So these are just straight up d20s. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hit on Norbert. Hit on Denton. Miss on the other 2. These are d6s, so on Norbert we have 1 damage. And on Denton we have 6 damage. He is down. Brilliant. And the kobolds shriek with glee. They dropped one of these mighty humans. New round. Our initiative is 16. Theirs is 7. We get to go first again. Grim is now going to swap over to his spear and stab that one that keeps dodging him. Or dodged him once at least. That is a good solid hit for 7 damage. So we kill a kobold of our own. Clara's going to swing at the one that dodged her the first time. She misses. Denton survives for one more round. Okay, one more round after this, I guess. I probably should have rolled that sooner. And then Norbert will try to slash at one with his short sword. He misses, actually. They have 13 AC. So now they're going to go. Same one attack to each character. Against Norbert, miss. Grim, miss. Clara, miss. All right, they're panicking a little bit. They're not sure if they can win this. But each side is one person down. Our initiative is 4. Theirs is 12. They get to go again against Norbert. 7. Grim, hit. Clara, miss. Against Grim, 5 damage. She takes a nasty gash. Nasty stab from this dirty spear. Straight through his torso. Not good. And Clara is going to have to perform... Oh, Thunderclap could be big, though. But if I don't stabilize, if I don't heal him, he's dead. So we're going to have to hold out a little bit longer. She's got to use Cure Wound on Denton. She failed. And I realize now that I already hand-waved my own rule of if you fail the spell cast, it goes off. And I was playing by the actual rules. So yeah, technically she also fails this and it doesn't happen. So now, I guess Norbert is going to try to stabilize him. I don't know if you can do that in the middle of combat without it being at disadvantage or something. But otherwise, Denton is also going to die, and it's going to be bad. Doesn't really say there's any penalty for doing it in combat, so... also, Denton gets a d20 this turn, I suppose. He might roll a crit. He didn't. Alright, Norbert will try to stabilize him, so he needs a 16 or higher. Fails, and then Grim will try to stabilize him. Fail. Denton's dead. Fucking hell, man. And now we waste our whole turn. So now they get to go again. Or no, they already went, right? I don't remember. Now I don't remember who went. We'll be nice and say that it's a new round. So Norbert rolls an 18. They roll a 12. Denton is dead. I mean, there's nothing. He's dead. He had one round to live, and we couldn't heal him. This is exactly what I was talking about of why a lot of people change it so that at least the spell goes off even if you fail one. You know, it goes off once and that's it. Because it's like, okay, I'm a cleric. Yeah, I'm going to heal people. Oh, you're down. I can save your life. Here I go. Cure wounds. Oh, nope. Random D20 chance bullshit. Because say what you will about old school Vancian magic and all that and having one spell per day. That one spell goes off. I mean, it happens. Well, not necessarily. I mean, you can be interrupted in combat and stuff, but most of the time, it's going to go. It's not going to be based on just like a random D20 chance to not happen. Alright, let me just play out the rest of this fight real quick. Norbert's going to attack with his short sword now. His buddy's dead. He misses. Grim attacks with his spear. He hits one for 3, but it probably dodges. Because now one of them has dodge left. The one on Norbert. Clara's then going to... I guess she'll move around to the... there's no ops, so she'll just move around the kobolds. And get behind them, and then use Thunderclap to hit them all. Because they're all within close range, right? So we cast this. Success. They have to make DC 12 con checks, which... their con is 0, so they just have to roll 12 or higher. 1, 2, 3. One of them did succeed. The other 2 die instantly from their brains exploding from the sound. So that's good. And then the one that survived probably is going to roll morale. He fails, so he's going to run off into the darkness. Combat over. Now, the question is, do I want to accept that result because I changed my own house rule that I stand by? I'm surprised and I forgot about it. I guess it's just because the big words come up, failure, and it was like, oh, I failed. It didn't happen, I failed. I just took that to heart immediately. But, yeah, I don't know, because I can't imagine running Shadowdark without following that rule. I know people do. I mean, obviously, many people run Shadowdark as written. Probably old school people that are just used to a wizard having one spell. But I don't know. It just seems so... seems so much of a bummer for like your first spell for your character. And I mean, it's very possible for you failing a spell roll to be what, like, ends up wiping out the party. I mean, there's going to be other factors to that, but it's like, oh man, if I had just succeeded on that one roll, we would have been fine. I mean, really, if Denton had succeeded on his sleep spell, they would have all fallen asleep and we could have just walked up and stabbed them all in the neck, and we'd be at full health and won the fight and gotten an XP. I mean, I don't know if I'd even reward an XP for that because it's not really significant, but clearly it is a significant fight. If we do it normally, and it's very possible that we all die, and one person did die, I mean, it's obviously a significant fight. Just because you end it by casting sleep doesn't make it not significant. I mean, yeah, so here's a whole discussion about if people change spellcasting or at all in Shadowdark. And this person says, I don't house rule any of it. I played a spellcaster in my first game last weekend, and I never failed even once. At level 1, I was able to cast 10 spells. I felt like a god. It's like, that's great. I mean, I'm real happy for you. But let's imagine, again, going back to our situation, where the players only ever roll 1. The DM only rolls 20. Your spellcaster is not going to feel good. And there is literally no spell in the game that you can cast that just automatically happens. Right? Every single spell requires that spellcasting check. And that means that if you are the type that just... And I know, I mean, I got it. In real world scenarios, yes. I mean, things average out and all that sort of stuff, and it's all just statistics and blah blah blah. But I mean, you adhere to 3d6 down the line, and so you could say, okay, well, I want to play a cleric, and I'll just roll 3d6 down the line, and we'll just make it work. And you have a -1 on your wisdom, and you're like, well, that's a bummer. But I'm gonna play a cleric, and say you don't roll a talent that helps that, and you go into battle and you have a -1 on your wisdom, and you keep rolling like 10, 8, 9, 8, 7. well, you really don't even need 2 rolls or something like that, and you're done. You're out of spells. You didn't cast a single spell, and you're not going to sit there and tell me that that feels good. I mean, it's great that you were able to cast 10 spells without failing, and that's awesome. And I've seen that myself when my mom played a priest, and she never failed on her cure light wounds or cure wounds. It's like, yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Really powerful stuff. But leaving power down to just entire random chance is kind of iffy. I just don't love that. And obviously, I'm someone that likes power that is, like, more premeditated, you know? You're powerful because of proper planning, whether in-game or, you know, before the game, or character customization and things like that. That's why you're powerful. Not leaving power just due to random chance entirely. And that's honestly what that is. That's what spellcasting is in Shadowdark. It's, your power is just based on random chance. And that's true for fighters as well. I mean, fighters could keep rolling terribly bad, and they could be just entirely useless as well. I agree. But the thing is, if they miss with their spear, they can just do another spear attack the following turn. If I fail Cure Wounds, that's it. If I fail Thunderclap, that's it. If I fail Sleep, that's it. And it's like, it just seems a little arbitrary. So to balance it a little bit, I like at least you can cast the spell once, even if it fails, you know? And then at least it's closer to, like, a more balanced, like, you know, D&D modern kind of experience. You might be able to cast it more than once. It's very possible. And that is pretty powerful, but at least you know with comfort that you can get it off once. Now, there's another system that I've been looking at, which is really... It is fucking deep dive OSR kind of shit. I mean, this is real nerd stuff, alright? But it's called the Glog. And it originated with Goblin Punch, Arnold K, the same guy that made up the Underclock and stuff, and that sort of Faith Dice healing alternative. So he's got a lot of good ideas, but this one really kind of hit it off, and a lot of people talk about it and have hacked it themselves. But it's called the Glog because it was basically his own homebrew OSR game. And he called it the Glog, standing for Goblin Laws of Gaming. And he just, you know, just wrapped it up and it was like, okay, here it is. This is my fantasy heartbreaker. And so it's 10 pages. But it just kind of picked up, and, like, a lot of people have gotten interested in the Glog and done, I mean, there's loads of, like, Glog homebrews. Skirples has his own Glog homebrew called Many Rats on Sticks. And Skirples is another pretty prominent member of the OSR that did, like, the Monster Overhaul and the Tomb of the Serpent King and stuff. So a lot of people are into the Glog, and there is literally hundreds of fan-made Glog classes of, like, every type of class you could possibly imagine. Many of them very silly and ridiculous and out there and just, like, yeah, weird classes. But there is a lot, because this is probably the most hackable system to ever exist. Because it's just very simple and flexible. Like, obviously, the original rule set here is 10 pages. So it's pretty flexible. And I think it's pretty OSR, and a lot of the concepts here are pretty OSR in general, because it's meant to be just an OSR homebrew. But the classes are set up quite simply so that every class has 4 kind of templates. So you start with the first template. Let me just find, like, okay. So, like, here's from the original Glog. You have the assassin here. You gain +1 stealth for every assassin template you possess. Oh, multi-classing is very easy, by the way. So yeah, for every assassin template you possess, which essentially means for every assassin level you have, you get +1 stealth. And so you get the first set of templates, which might just be one ability or one feat or whatever. But the assassin here gets skills of a killer and assassinate. And skills of a killer, you gain disguise and poisoner skills at rank 1. And assassinate, for every fact you know about your target, you deal an additional +1 damage during surprise rounds for a max of +5 damage. Okay, and it's just kind of pretty free-form and flexible, and that's a lot of... And so it's just... That's why there's hundreds of Glog classes, because it's just really easy and fun to make up original classes, because you don't need to come up with an extensive list of abilities and all that sort of stuff. It's pretty simple, and there's only 4 tiers of templates. So max level is basically like... Well, like I said, I think you can multi-class, and I think there was level progression here on an XP chart. So I don't know what the actual max level is. I think max level... Yeah, so he has max level here as 10, but then you can keep going past that point. But you can't have more than 4 templates. So there kind of is a max level as far as templates. And it says that any other abilities gained beyond this point are the result of questing, not merely leveling up. Yeah. So yeah, and then if you get level 2 for assassin, you know, you'd get opportunist as your next thing. Whenever you get a situational bonus on an attack roll, such as surprise or elevation, etc., you deal an additional +1d6 damage. And it's very simple stuff, but it's really flexible. So obviously the assassin class is very, very different than the barbarian class because of these template abilities and stuff. But you can multi-class to your heart's content. I mean, you can easily take 2 templates from assassin and then go 2 templates into barbarian and blah blah blah, and then you can be an assassin that can rage and so on and so forth. So it's very fluid, very flexible. The reason I brought this up though was specifically the magic system for magical classes. And that's basically most magic classes get what they call magic dice. And so for every template level that you have in that class, you get an extra magic dice. So the first level, first template you'd get 1 magic dice. And these are D6s usually, although obviously plenty of classes have messed with that. But yeah, so D6. Let me... He didn't actually include magic classes at all in his initial release. So let me go to Skirple's Many Rats on Sticks. That definitely does involve magic. It actually includes a bunch of magic classes and like fucking like 30 different races and stuff. It's just, again, very flexible. All right, so wizard, yeah. So you get magic dice, and then you get a certain selection of spells depending on your class. So again, like this is Many Rats on Sticks. So when you pick wizard, you're picking like Animist Wizard or Biomancer Wizard or Curse Eater Wizard, Drowned Wizard, and this gives you like a specific perk, a specific drawback, and then like a spell selection revolving around that specific type of wizard. But again, there's so many different classes that have been created. So you get magic dice, and then when you want to cast one of your spells that you know, you are selecting a number of magic dice that you want to invest into the spell. So at the start, level 1, you're only going to have one magic dice, 1d6. So whenever you cast a spell, you're just putting in the 1d6, and you roll the 1d6. And pretty much all your spells are going to be based on the results of those dice and how much you invest in. So what's like a classic example here? I'm sure there's Fireball here. Really? The Elementalist Wizard does not have Fireball? That might be the Orthodox Wizard. Yeah, Orthodox Wizard. Okay, so Fireball in this system here, this version from the Orthodox Wizard, is pretty simple. It just does the sum of all your magic dice damage, fire damage, to everything in the area. So that's the most simple possible. But then you have like Grease, and the Grease doesn't care about the sum of the dice. It doesn't care about the result of your actual dice roll. Instead, Grease cares about how many dice you invest in it. So that's like a known thing that you can just control when you cast it. The result of the dice does matter, as I'll say in a minute, but for Grease there, the duration is however many dice you put in times 2 rounds. So if you put in 2 dice, it's 4 rounds. And then the size of the Grease spill is going to be 10 feet by 10 feet by the number of dice. Or Levitate. The maximum weight of an object or creature that you can lift is dice times 500 pounds. So, if you're only trying to lift something less than 500 pounds, you just could put in one die. But if you go a long time lifting it, if you go past the number of dice times 3 rounds, you start taking psychic damage if you want to keep lifting it. So you might want to put in more dice to extend the duration. But then the result of the dice always matters, because if any of the dice come up 4, 5, or 6, you lose the magic dice for the rest of the day. So, say you roll Fireball and you throw 4 dice in and they all come up 6. That is going to be, the biggest Fireball you could possibly get. But you also lose all those magic dice for the rest of the day. Whereas if you roll low and it's kind of not that impressive, or you roll low and the spell doesn't care about the sum of the dice or whatever, then, you get those dice back and you can use them again. So yeah, at level 1, it is very possible for you to cast one spell, and then you roll a 5 on that one dice, and you lose your dice for the rest of the turn, or rest of the day. And you are essentially the same as a BX wizard, BX magic user. You cast your one spell, and that's it. But there is a possibility that you could cast spells, theoretically, all day. And then as you go on, you have the option of reserving dice to make sure that you have some spells left over, or investing more to make bigger and bigger effects as you level up. And obviously I haven't played with this yet or anything, but on paper it sounds really cool. Because again, in that system, no matter what, you're getting your first spell off. It is happening when you cast it. You might not be able to cast it again, but you get it. I don't know. I've just been reading about the Glog, and I just it popped into my mind when talking about spells, because I really am interested in the magic of Glog. So yeah, I had to bring it up here because it's just kind of ridiculous. So the point is, I don't know why I'm arguing this, because this was already like a firm house rule that I wasn't really ever waffling on. Like, I always plan on having it where, I think even before I ran my first Shadowdark game for my family, like, I already decided that, okay, if you fail the spell, it still goes off once. Yeah, so I'm standing by that. People can do whatever they want, blah, blah, blah. Enjoy it. I mean, here this person argues as well. It's a double punishment. You didn't cast the spell, and you can't cast the spell again. So it's like a fighter whiffing with their longsword and then having to rely on a dagger until the next day. And spells can be very impactful. I mean, sleep especially is a very powerful spell. But still. Still change my mind. I'm not going to change my mind. Some people have said that you can, if you fail, you can still get it off one last time by taking damage equal to the spell's tier. So Denton could take a damage to make sure sleep goes off that one time. It's fine. I don't think it's really necessary. And then there's the argument of like luck tokens and like how they're already really powerful for spellcasters, and most of your luck tokens are going to go to your spellcasters. But I don't think that really changes too much. If I fail a spell, I'm still inclined to use a luck token on it because I don't want to lose the spell. So the knowledge that I'm going to get the spell off either way probably is not going to influence too much of whether I use a luck token or not, except in rare certain conditions where I know, like, yeah, I'm definitely not gonna need this spell again today, which is pretty unlikely, I think. So I don't know. I don't think that. Yeah. And the argument, some people have said, well, you know, you can have your wizard scribe magic scrolls as a backup, so that they can cast from scrolls instead. That's potentially true. And I think that's talked a little bit in the magic section. It doesn't really go into, I think, creating scrolls. It just talks about using scrolls. So I don't know. Shadowdark definitely doesn't seem to have rules for crafting or anything like that. Magic research or anything. So let me see. 288 talks about scrolls. But it just has like random tables for generating scrolls. Has no information on how to make these yourself. So that's entirely just house rules. And I think in OSC, BXD&D and stuff, you, by the rules, you have to be at least 9th level to even make scrolls. So, you know, that's kind of out. Many favor the Holmes method of allowing any caster to make scrolls at 100 gold pieces and 1 week's time per spell level. So yes, if you wanted your wizard to make a scroll for sleep so he has a backup, 100 gold, and spend a week to do it. And then he would have 1 sleep scroll. I guess. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make it so that the spell goes off if you fail, and then it's over. So, yeah, I'm gonna, we're gonna rewind time because I'm adhering to this rule, and I need to keep it in my head. So, sleep went off. Denton is not dead. I didn't have to cast Cure Wounds. We're at full health because we put them all to sleep and we killed all the kobolds. And if you don't like it, well, you can DM your own game, as usual. Because now he doesn't have sleep. So that was that. Look, I already accepted the 3d6 down the line method. And to be honest, I'm not loving it. It doesn't thrill me with joy the way that people say it should. So I'm at least going to follow my own spell house rule. Okay, so yeah, we kill the kobolds. And we get an XP for it because there was a significant fight. And we had a dark vision of a future where Denton didn't cast sleep and died. So we know that they were a risk. We respect the kobolds by giving ourselves an XP in killing them. Because that meant that they were worthy. Right. So the kobolds don't really have anything on them. I don't think. Again, like... You know, the Shadowdark Bestiary, it's very compact. It has a lot of entries in a relatively short section of the book. But there is also quite a bit missing. You have no number appearing and no treasure value of any kind. So it's up to the DM to just come up with this. And honestly, I think, I don't know, for a game designed kind of for, I don't know if Shadowdark is designed for new DMs. I don't know. I don't think I'd say that. I don't think there's much here to indicate that it's designed for new DMs. I just think it's like pretty easy, relatively easy for a new DM to get into. But they could go the extra mile, and they could put a little bit more info in this book. Hard to say. But yeah, I'd certainly appreciate having number appearing and treasure tables. Considering that the book has treasure tables... I guess it does say here, treasure table the monster uses corresponds to its level. So technically, we could roll on this treasure table 0 to 3. Let's see. Let's just do it. So they're level 0. So this is for any monster from level 0 to level 3, which is kind of surprising. And this does mean that they could be carrying a +1 magic weapon, or a bag of holding, or a +1 armor, or a magic wand. Pretty unlikely, but we'll roll once for the whole group, because this is like the most valuable thing amongst them. 94. Yep, it's an egg of a cockatrice, worth 100 gold pieces. Now, it's just, it's so wacky and so out there that I don't think I can even adhere to this. Whereas if I followed treasure types for, let's see, okay, hold on, monster, I'm gonna go to OSE here. We're going with OSE. Let me look at Kobold. They have treasure type P. So we're gonna go here, treasure type P. This is individual treasures, so this would be each one. That means that each one of these would have 3d8 copper pieces. So there's 4 of them, so that would be 12d8. Which is 71 copper, or about 7 silver. Yeah, but I wouldn't say 7 silver. I'd say you find 71 copper. Done. It's realistic. It's exact. It makes sense. Players can collect their 71 copper if they want, divide it amongst themselves. Done. That's it. And maybe you think that it's far more interesting and unique and fun and cool to have these random kobolds carrying a 100 gold piece egg of a cockatrice. Maybe. But Honestly, I think it's a little ridiculous. So I think these treasure tables are just a little too varied. A little too varied. I'd probably, if I were you, go back to old school stuff. So 71 copper divided by 4. Oh, I don't know. 17? I think 17, and then there's 3 left over, which will we will dedicate to the fallen adventurers here, which is not much. So 17. 17. 17. 17. Okay. That's it. And I'm not counting that as significant treasure, that's for sure. Okay, so now we can continue on. There is also a long narrow shaft leading up to the surface, which I guess our last characters could have tried to climb up that way, but Dex 15 plus is pretty fucking unlikely. The tight winding passage to area 5 from here is also Dex 15 without a rope, so it looks a little precarious. I think we'll take the steps down, the way the kobolds came from. So we're gonna go this way. And we're gonna tick the underclock as we go. 3 down. Probably won't have another one, but lights down to 5. And we head into the room 4. A stone sarcophagus with a slightly dislodged lid sits in the chamber's center. Sconces on the wall hold burnt, useless torch stubs. There is a sheer cliff-like drop-off in the southwest corner. Okay, well, I mean, we have to go check out the sarcophagus. There might be treasure in there. And as we approach, 4 tomb rats emerge, disturbed by our footsteps and our voices and stuff. Undead rats the size of cats. So they're like zombie cats. Zombie rats, I'm sorry. And they can inflict ghoul fever. They are undead. Technically surprised, but not really, I would say. I think this is just one of those initiative sort of situations. So our initiative is 16, theirs is 15, unless they have a higher dex number. They do have a tie. There's 4 of them, and 4 of us, and ties go to monsters. So they do get to go first. And they're going to swarm towards Grim, who's always the point man in the marching order. So he's going to take 4 shots from these rats swarming over him as he approaches the sarcophagus. Pretty juicy. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 hit. They are dealing 1d4 damage. Yeah, they have +1, so that one was a 14. Very close, but no, only 1 hit. 1d4. 3 damage, so he's at half health. And he has to make a DC 9 con check. He succeeds. Otherwise, he'll take 1d4 con damage, and he can't heal while ill. Okay. Luckily, he avoided that. Alright, our turn. Grim will counterattack on that bastard with his spear. 15, 7 damage. That is a kill. He spears the zombie rat, hoists it up on his torch, and tosses it across the room. Denton will also charge in with his longsword. That is another kill. Slices one in half. Now we're feeling badass. Norbert, I guess, will slip in that short sword, as he does. 1 damage is not enough on that thing. So this is always the thing when you have like thunderclap, like something within close range. I mean, Thunderclap I made up. I stole it from 5th edition, you know, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, like, I'm pretty sure there are other spells that do damage or effects within close. Like Burning Hands, right? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Thunderclap is essentially just a different Burning Hand. It's slightly worse because they get a con check. And it's very loud. But it doesn't start fires, so there's that at least. But yeah, much like Burning Hands, like I'm just not sure how to adjudicate, like, who, you know, can I just slip in there and just make sure that I get close? Like, this is why I kind of like grids and a tactical thing. Like, there's never any ambiguity, really, or rarely. I don't know. And the thing is, like, whenever I'm running Theater of the Mind, I tend to just kind of envision it as a grid. Like, it's just easier for me if I'm just picturing, okay, those 3 are there and the enemies are there and blah, blah, blah. Like, that's where my mind goes. And so that makes it like, okay, well, then if you can do Thunderclap, you can just move around behind the rats and then Thunderclap. Why wouldn't you? I feel like I should be running Underclock every time I use it, though. Which makes it even worse than Burning Hands. I may have to buff this in some way to make it more viable compared to Burning Hands. Either increasing the con check or increasing the damage or something. But I don't know, 2d6 seems kind of hefty. Just for sound. So maybe increase the con check to like 15. Alright, let's increase the con check to 15. It's still not as good. But it doesn't start things on fire. So she'll move around and use Thunderclap on the last 2. Alright, she barely succeeded. Well, actually, you could make this equal to the spellcasting check, I suppose, which is probably what you should do. Or, alternatively, you'd remove the con check entirely, just make it 1d6 damage, and it's literally just an alternate form of Burning Hands. Like, it's a reskin Burning Hands. I mean, that wouldn't be broken at all. But I guess it's, I don't know. I don't know. I'll waffle on it. But either way, they have to roll. So they roll a 14 and a 1. And they do have a +1 con. So no matter how I roll it, that first one succeeds. Second one fails and takes 5 damage. So it explodes from the sound. But new round of initiative. We get 12. They get 11, so we go first. Grimm's gonna spear another one, no problem. 22. Hey, he actually rolled a 19 finally. We get to roll for blade trauma, even though it's dead. But I want to roll for blade trauma. Because it's a spear. So it's just a d12. I haven't really thought about it much. Okay, rolled a 2. It's not very exciting. Blade trauma. 2. Disarmed. Okay, well, quite literally, we disarm the rat, and it is dead. Yeah, that doesn't make sense against quite a few enemies. So you can't quite do Severed Hand. That's a number 10 effect. I guess you could. It's not the end of the world if you do, but anyways. Yeah, alright, we win. We killed them all. But I did use Thunderclap, so I'm going to have to roll the underclock for that. 6 and 2, it's down 8 more, down to 9. And I think our light ticks down again as well. Was that a significant encounter? Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. It could have gone very south, right? Bad rolls. If it can kill you, if it can be a TPK, I don't see why it's not significant. And then searching the sarcophagus, we find a cracked reptilian skull wearing a silver diadem worth 40 gold. Don't mind if I do. Who can carry this? Norbert. Treasure. Silver diadem. 40 gold. And so with that, we're each going to get a total of 2 XP. Now, yeah, we are going to level up faster than Shadowdark to begin with, but it'll eventually slow down because we're going to start needing more XP than Shadowdark does. Even though we're getting it from more sources. But, you know, I don't know. It's not the end of the world. And yeah, we are certainly leveling up faster than BXD&D, where we need 2,000 XP, and so far we would have gotten like, I don't know, 100. So yeah, but okay. All right, I'm gonna have to leave it off here, but we will finish up Tomb of the Hunters next time for sure, because all that's left is those damn ghouls, and one of them was near dead, I believe. I don't know how we want to rule on that, but yeah, we should be able to handle those nasty ghouls now. Hopefully. Hopefully. Oh yeah, we want to heal Grim, so we'll use Cure Wounds, and probably fail. Yep, failed, but at least we heal. 6. He's back to full, but no more heals. Ooh, boy. Okay, so the only spell we have left is Thunderclap. We're going to have to rely on pure skill. For now, though, my name is Mang. This has been Solo Roll Manging with Shadowdark. I'll see you fine folks in the next part.